I opened another tab while reading last week's tab. And if you listen to last week's episode 4, you'll know that the tab is about the island of Niʻihau.
That's right.
And I'm just going to jump right in. So just to refresh you, that island of Niʻihau is one of Hawaii's main islands that only has a few, like 40, 50 people living on it. It's privately owned, and it has been for over 150 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very quiet. No one can go there. It's mysterious. They call it the Forbidden Isle. And
Forbidden Isle.
It's owned by a family called the Robinsons. And people are living here. They're kind of stuck in time.
Yeah, not Robinson Crusoe, as we pointed out last time.
Just a bunch of other ones.
Just a bunch of other Mrs. Robinsons. Here's to you, Mrs. Robinson. Forbidden Island, something I don't know.
No.
Whoa, whoa,
yeah.
whoa.
Yay. Good one. That was good. Just on-air feedback. Nice. Good one. I like that. Keep that in.
Keep it in.
So if you remember, I mentioned there was an incident that happened on the island in the 1940s.
Yes.
Yeah. And I said I wanted to get back to it someday. And I was like, you know what? I may as well just.
Someday is immediately the next day.
Is now, because I couldn't stop reading about it. So
I think this is great. I like the idea that you had something that you were going to do someday. And you're just like, guess what? No, doing it immediately. That's how you achieve your goals. Yeah.
Thank you. You're right. I never do that ever.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. You're very supportive. Okay. In the 1940s, something happened called the Niʻihau incident. And the story begins at 7:48 a.m. on December 7th, 1941, which is just a normal day that nothing happened on that day. I'm just kidding, except for Pearl Harbor. The attack on Pearl Harbor happened at 7:48 a.m. And it was the Japanese attack on the island that kind of definitely pulled us into World War II.
It's a little bit of a nudge.
It kind of pissed us off enough to be like, let's join.
Here. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. We don't love it. We don't love that when that happens.
Not a fan. Not a fan of Pearl Harbor.
We tend to go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so there were 2 waves of attack. I don't know if you knew this. There was the first wave, which was, it was all aerial. It was all an aerial attack. The first wave was primarily attacking land, like Pearl Harbor itself, the land area around it. And then the second attack was attacking the warships that were in the bay. So the first fleet? I don't know. First group of airplanes? Is that
the first murder of planes?
The first flock of planes? The first murder of planes?
Murder of planes.
What's a group of planes?
That's for us to decide. I think murder of planes is good.
Murder. The first murder of planes attacks, and then a couple hours later, the second. And this is the one where our main character is part of. So he is an airman first class in the Japanese military named Shigenori Nishikaichi. Mm-hmm. Really hope I said that right. From now on, I'll be calling him Nishikaichi.
Nishikaichi.
He had participated in the second wave. And while attacking, his aircraft had been damaged because we did retaliate.
We fought back. We are America.
We definitely did. We don't know how to do anything else. Yeah. So his airplane is damaged, and he had remembered that his commanders had been like, "Okay, there's some uninhabited islands around Hawaii that you can crash land on if you need to, and we'll come pick you up." So he was like, "Oh, there's one," and he looks at Niʻihau, and that was on the list of islands that was uninhabited.
Perfect. His pickup spot. His Uber driver knew where to get him. His Uber flyer.
Like, can you actually go closer to the? Anyway,
sorry, we're only going to wait for 5 minutes before we save you from this island and fly you back to Japan.
Anyway, so he decides to crash land, and so he takes his airplane down, control crash lands it in a field, in a deeply plowed field on the island of Niʻihau, where, if you remember, there are at this point about 150 residents there who are farming and ranching. So he lands his plane, and there's a guy standing there, and he's just like, what? Because all of a sudden he sees this airplane coming down, and his name is Hawila Kaleohano.
That's a beautiful name, actually.
Isn't it? Kaleohano? Yeah. He's a 29-year-old, and he lives on the island. And he's like, dang, that's a Japanese plane. And since he was cut off from the island's cut off from the world, but no one had heard of the attack, but he was not from the island. He had been living there for the last 10 years. And so he knew that there were tensions with the Japanese. And so he was like, better be safe, rather safe than sorry. And I'm going to take this guy's gun and I'm going to take his papers.
I think in general, taking someone's gun is probably the smart move if you can, regardless if you have tensions with them or not.
And so Nishikaichi was like passed out in the airplane. And the guy, Kalayohano was like, here, take the gun, yoink, and the papers, yoink.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up and he's like, hey, dude, come here, come to my house. I'll help you out. And he takes him there. And of course, the whole island is like, whoa, this is the most exciting thing that's happened to us in a long time. So everyone goes and gathers around and like wants to see this soldier. And they still don't know about the attack. So they give him food.
They think it's like this visitor. It's just this random dude that's shown up. They think
it was just some random like accident. Like, oh, he must have been like, well, they didn't really know the answer. And so they give him food and water and like tea and coffee. And then they have a party. Because I think it's just like Hawaiian like
what
hospitality.
Kind of party? Yeah.
It was just a party. Like, you know.
Like a social. Was it like an ice cream social?
Like, here, ice cream. No, but this like dazed out of it pilot's just sitting there and there's like 100 Hawaiians being like
celebrating me.
Here, have some food. It was just a welcoming party. Like that's just, I think it's like very much like Hawaiian culture to be like, doesn't matter.
I'm like the Persians would do the same thing. We'll just be like, listen, we're going to feed you to death. We're going to make sure we're dancing. There's a bunch of chai and tea. There's all kinds of stuff that we're going to do.
And if you don't like it too bad, we're being nice, right?
Yeah, we're going to be aggressively nice. All you got to do is make sure you take your shoes off when you come into the house. That's the most important part if you get invited.
I made that mistake. I came to your house and I realized I was sitting on your chair, your couch with my shoes on. And I was like,
I almost never talk to you again. I was like, the podcast is over.
I took my shoes off and I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm so white. I keep my shoes on inside. Which, it's true.
I feel like the Japanese pilot did not do that, though. If he's Japanese, he knows.
He knows. Take his shoes off. Yeah.
He takes notes to take his shoes off. So he didn't make that faux pas.
I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying... Anyway, so he's sitting there and they're like, woo! And then they're trying to talk to him and he doesn't speak any English, like barely any. And they're like, this guy we can't talk. And there are people who live on this island and in Hawaii called Issei. I think it's pronounced Issei.
Okay.
And Issei is a Japanese word for second generation Japanese person. So there are a lot of people who moved to Hawaii to work on like plantations and farms and stuff. And so there were 3 Issei on this island. And so they call one of them, his name is Shintani, and he is a beekeeper. He's the island beekeeper. He's like a 60-year-old. I know, right?
Love it. Yes.
He's like a 60-year-old.
Into it.
Japanese guy, beekeeper, and he comes to translate and he sits down with the pilot and he's like, what's up with you? And the pilot talks and everyone's like, what are they saying? And then the beekeeper just gets up and leaves. And everyone's like, sorry, excuse what? Me? And he just nopes out of there. And so they're like, get the other Japanese speakers here. And the other people were this couple called the Haradas. And it was Yoshio and Irene, and they're married. And they also speak Japanese. When they talked to the pilot, they sat down and they're like, what is happening? And he's like, I totally bombed Pearl Harbor. I helped bomb Pearl Harbor. And they were like, what? Because they still didn't even know about it. Nobody knew. And so they sat there and they were like, we're not going to say anything to anybody. We're making
Why?
I don't... They just made the decision.
They don't explain why. They just decided to keep it a secret. Did anyone ever find out why the beekeeper left? Okay, I'm sorry. Continue. Later. I'm getting ahead of myself.
It's just kind of his personality. I'm the beekeeper in this scenario. I would absolutely just leave the situation because I'm scared of confrontation.
You would be a beekeeper too.
Yeah, ideally. But I think once I got stung, I'd be like, I'm done with this.
Done with this.
So anyway, they made this couple, Irene and Yoshio, made the decision to not translate all of it to the rest. And so Nishikaichi was like, guys, I need to get my papers back and my gun, and I need to destroy my plane. And they're like, ugh. And by this point, and these papers, the reason these papers are so important is because they have top secret radio codes and detailed
I thought it was like his passport or something, like identification papers. Oh, dear Lord.
No, they have like plans and maps, like detailed maps of like attack plans. So he's like, I have to get these papers back. And
it's his cheat sheet.
he's like, how else am I gonna know who to kill?
Yeah, I tried writing it on my hand, but it wasn't enough space.
Look, it came off. Find out. So fast forward to later on in the night, and then the news of the attack comes, and everyone's like, puts the pieces together.
Yeah.
You crash landed here.
We threw a party for you.
Yes. And even so, they're still like, look, we don't want to do this, but we're locking you up. We're keeping you captive until somebody can come and get you tomorrow. Because the next boat to come in,
I like them. They're like,
oh my gosh,
they throw a guest a party that's amazing, and then they're not even like mean to the guy that bombed Pearl Harbor. Nope. They're like, we're sorry to put you away. It almost sounds like
I would feel I would feel bad. I'd be like, he's just like some soldier. It's not like he's planned the whole thing. He's just doing what. Anyway, turns out he was not just some nice soldier. Well, so we'll get to there. He kind of goes. Anyway, you'll see. So everyone finds out about the attack, and the Haradas still had not let anyone know that they were siding with him. So they were like, how about you stay with the Haradas because they speak Japanese? And he's like, that sounds great.
Yeah, so that's your prison for the night.
So, no, for the next week.
For the next week? What does that say about the Haradas? That they're like, we're going to punish you by putting you with the Haradas for a week.
Well, it's because they could translate. And the beekeeper
they were like,
was
man, Irene can't cook at all, so this is punishment enough.
Maybe she couldn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? Punishment enough. Mean. Then if that were the case, then no one would ever want to stay with me because I also can't cook very well. So they placed 5 guards outside the house, and their plan was to send him to Kauai the next day with the owner of the island, who was coming every week, and he was supposed to arrive the next day, but he didn't show up because the military is like, no boats, no planes, no one will leave, complete lockdown of the islands. And so this boat wasn't getting anywhere near Niʻihau. So the next day is December 8th, and it's when Roosevelt asks Congress to declare formal war on Japan, which is the last time we ever declared formal war on anyone.
Otherwise we just went in? Yeah.
We haven't declared formal war since December 8th, 1941.
I don't think I knew that we never declared formal war. That's
the
weird.
last time we got technical, formal, like the go-ahead from Congress.
Yeah.
Ever since then, it's just been kind of like, can we maybe, it's all very, we won't get into that. Anyway.
Okay. It's all very sketch.
So the pilot, Nishikaichi, is still there, and it takes him days to be like, seriously, you have to help me. Trying to like appeal to their like nationality and their background, and they agree to help him. And they're gonna try to figure out a way to get his papers back and his gun, destroy his plane, and get him off the island.
So these people are basically like traitors at this point.
Yes. 100% traitors.
This is straight treason. This is as treasonous as it gets.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they find Shintani, the beekeeper, and they're like, hey, so can you go talk to Kaleohano, the guy who found him and took his papers, and can you just see if you can like bribe him to give those back? And Shintani's like, okay. So he goes, and it's pretty obvious he doesn't like confrontation because he tries to bribe them once, and he's like, no, absolutely not. And so then Shintani feels like super nervous that he failed them, and then he just like runs away and hides in the woods, which
hashtag relatable.
I would 100% do.
I'm sorry I let you down.
Okay, one time I owed somebody money, and it was not a big deal, and I saw them on campus, and I ducked. We were in the campus bookstore, and I saw them, and I ducked down like I was gonna get in trouble. That's how against
That sounds like you're just avoiding creditors. That's different.
It does, but it was my friend.
I didn't want to disappoint him by knowing I didn't have the money yet.
Yeah,
did you ever pay them back?
Yeah, it was like $7. That's the crazy thing. But
I was hoping that you were going to be like, and then I never spoke to that person again for the rest of my life.
No, I paid them back, but I just needed a little more time.
Hannah Hillam, a woman who always pays her debts.
Unless I forget, which I've done.
That's true. I could see you more forgetting to pay your debts rather than refusing to pay them.
Yeah. I've had people be like, by the way, you still owe me this. And I'm like, that was like 3 or 4 years ago. So anyway, flaky. Oops. Okay, so while he's away, Shintani, the Haradas are like, oh, okay, well, he's not coming back. We're just going to go ahead and do plan B, which is to steal the papers back.
Okay.
So here's where their plan starts. The plan of action starts. So why can't I ever? I had these names memorized earlier, and of course they go right out the window.
You should have had your papers where all the names are written down and the attack plans
burned
together.
Them.
So you can keep referencing them.
Dude, some guy came in and took them from me.
And then he ran into the woods because
he's in the woods. He's a beekeeper. Anyway, Nishikaichi and the Haradas decide to first go to the warehouse. There's a warehouse nearby where the guns are being stored. Okay. So they realize they have to create a distraction for the guards. So Irene takes out the phonograph and puts on some loud, like if you can imagine 1940s music.
It's like some old-timey jazz, basically.
Yes.
Some swing music or like big band or something.
It might have been. And she puts the music on to hide any sound of a struggle. And for some reason they discover
there's only... It's straight up like an old cartoon.
No, seriously. This gets even more
like,
cartoonish.
Does Bugs Bunny show up wearing like coconut bra and like trying to pretend to be a woman to distract the guard and like take his keys away?
Nishikaichi's like, his eyes go, ooh, wow. Like then they make they pop out of the skull. Anyway.
Yeah.
In a cute way, not a gross way.
Yeah. Anyway, she puts on the music for distraction to hide the sound.
Because they're planning on
sound.
Attacking the guards, and they find that there's only one guard outside. So they're like, "Oh, this is way easier than we thought."
Fine.
So they had no trouble just grabbing him and locking him in the warehouse where the guns are after taking all the guns. So they lock him up.
Poor guy.
And so then they're like, "Okay, now next step is to go get those papers," and we're pretty sure they're at Kalehohano's house. So. They get in a car, like a wagon pulled by a horse. Because remember, there's no cars. There's
nothing on there. Yeah.
Yeah. And they put all the guns in this wagon pulled by this horse. And they like ride this cart up the hill to Kaleohano's house. And Kaleohano is out in the outhouse at the time.
Oh, no.
And he sees
this is my worst nightmare. You're in the middle of taking a shit.
I think he was... I think he may have been done because he saw them and he was like, oh, so he ducks down and hides in the outhouse.
Oh, did he owe them $7?
He did. How did you know how this ended? Oh, wow. Thank you. So Kaleohano is like, I better hide. And he was probably so annoyed. He was like, that guy tried to bribe me. I'm just going to go to the bathroom. And then he sees these guys escaped. So he sees the trio and they're holding a gun and headed toward his house. So he decides, duck down and hide. Yeah. And he watches as they go to the plane, which they had taken near his house, and they torch it. They torch the plane, but not before they try to use the radio to talk to Japan, and it doesn't work. They totally torch the plane. They take all the guns off of it, take all the ammunition, and leave it burning. And
oh my God.
Yeah. And what's his name?
There's no like fire department, is there? Like on the island, they're not going to show up in a fire truck to put this out.
No, nobody's coming.
He's like, thanks. You just light this thing on fire by my house and leave.
Oh, there's more. So Kaleohano is like, what the, and then he realizes they're walking over to his house. Uh-oh. And so they're walking to his house and he decides to run because he was like, they're not looking. I'm going to run and warn the rest of the villagers. And so he leaves the outhouse.
This guy's smart. Yes.
Dude, this guy's a hero. And of course they somehow see him. So they start shooting at him. And like an action movie, he's like dodging it and running. Nice. And he gets away unscathed.
Awesome.
And I know, right? And somehow, I don't know how this happened, but because I couldn't figure out when he got a hold of the papers, but Kaleohano has the papers. He has the Japanese papers.
Of course he does. So he's the best.
He probably had them on him. If I were him, I'd keep them on me at all times.
That's what he took to the outhouse. And he was like, listen.
These are my constant companions.
Yeah, he has to read them when he's on the toilet. Or worst case scenario, if they run out of toilet paper, you never know.
Good idea.
Yeah,
how disrespectful would that be?
To war plans to murder more people.
Awesome. Pearl Harbor. I'm gonna wipe my. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, that's a real American.
He's running, and in the background, they're burning his house down.
Oh
because
no!
yeah,
What?
they're like they
They
see him running
deliberately
like
burned his house down, or
yes, they're like
did like from the
he
plane it
no,
caught?
they
What a
torched
dick
it. So
move!
I know, and so they at some point around here, Irene is no longer with them. So I don't know where Irene goes. It's kind of hazy. Later on, she was like, "I wasn't involved."
I see.
Um, but she definitely was. So she's no longer around. They burn his house down. He sees it and he's like, runs to the village, warns
Not
everybody.
cool. Yeah.
He's so pissed. Imagine he's like, he's in his field and he's just minding his own business. A plane crashes and ruins his whole life.
Yeah. I didn't ask for this. I was just trying to do my farm work. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Being
Why
punished
me?
for doing the right thing.
And so he warns everybody, and everyone's like, "You sure about that?" And he's like, "Yeah, dude, they escaped and they're burning down things."
They burned
And
down my house.
everyone is skeptical until one of the guards that they had
The one that they put into the gun storage locker.
who's 16. The 16-year-old guard comes back and he's like, "Guys!" And then it corroborates the story. And so everybody runs, leaves their homes, hides in caves and bushes and in the mountains and stuff. And Kaleohano, being awesome, he's like, that's not enough. So he climbs Mount Panayao and he ignites this huge fire.
Oh my God.
Like Gondor.
It's like calling for Gondor, yeah. Gondor calls for your aid.
And they didn't come.
What?
No, they did the next day. But no, that actually was a huge, that was really important.
Prideful.
Theoden, exactly. Oh, I used to have that speech memorized because I was that kind of kid.
Yeah.
So yeah, he ignites this Gondor-style warning fire. And
awesome.
He organizes some of the residents.
So great.
Oh, he's so cool. I'll put pictures of him up. He looks awesome. He looks like a guy who would absolutely be able to do all of this. He organizes some of the residents to sneak into the only lifeboat on the island and row to Kauai, which is
I'm afraid to ask this. How far? Okay,
10 hours.
10 hours of rowing?
Yes. You just blew my eardrums out.
I'm sorry.
Okay. I just snorted. So they get going because he's like, we can't waste any time. It's only like 10 p.m. You can do it. You can get there overnight. And so they leave. It's like 6 or 7 people, and go back. So we're leaving him now. He did Kaleohano for a bit, and we go back over to Nishikaichi, the pilot, and the Haradas, Right. Now it's just Yoshio Harada. So the two of them, they're pissed. They're so pissed off. They're going around with the guns they took from the plane. So like machine guns from the plane and just shooting through. Yes. House to house, kicking down doors, shooting through doors. They were absolutely trying to like kill people.
That's terrible.
And looking for Kaleohano because they're like, okay, we burned his house, but we have to get him too, just in case. But luckily, Kaleohano had told everyone to leave, so the village was empty. So he saved the lives of all of these people. Yeah. And so they're both super frustrated, which is kind of I can like see this as a movie. Just them going crazy mode right now, just being like, nothing's going right. Yeah. So the two of them come across this resident who had come back to his house. He had evacuated his family and went back to his house. And I don't know why, but he was back at his house, and his name is Kalima. And they see him and he's like, oh, and they take him hostage and they force him at gunpoint to yell out the names of people to see if anyone answers so they can find him. So he's yelling out names. And of course, because everyone's ride or die, nobody answers.
Hell yes.
And it's like, yes, no one answers. And he's like, they're just not around here, even though they were. So they let him go. And,
they're like, you're useless. Like you didn't do anything for us. Good, go away.
Let him go. So while they're still like going around the village, Kalima is now free, and so he runs into his old neighbor Ben Kanahele, and Ben is 6'5" tall, super strong, and just like this unit of a man, you know.
Absolute unit.
Absolute unit. And Kalima's like, we've got to get those guns they were using and get rid of them.
Yeah.
So he gets Ben. They go back to the cart where they left the cart. They take the guns from it and the ammo and any of the other weapons in there.
They just left it unsupervised?
They're going berserk mode. They're like they're not in their right minds. I'm pretty sure this is also, they were still burning down the other house. So I think they were also on doing that at the same time.
You turn your back for 1 second to burn down a house. Can't even trust people to not steal all your illegal weapons that you stole from the from the Capitol building or whatever it is.
Oh, we're talking about
or sorry, not the Capitol, but
well,
the Capitol,
warehouse.
like the warehouse. Yeah, the warehouse.
I like that you call
the like town armory.
Capitol building. Yeah, town armory. Anyway, so Ben and Kalima bury all these weapons on the beach. And then
this
Ben's
is, again, smart. They're so not smart. Like trying to go like shoot everybody because that's just going to get more death. They just get rid of.
Right.
This is great.
It's so much smarter
Fully
than
on
what
board
I would
with
have
all
done.
of this so far. Yeah, exactly. Because we're dumb and we're mainland Americans. We're like, how do we kill everybody to get through this?
We're the only ones who can survive this. And I'm going to, no. If I didn't, or I would just bury myself in the sand. There I go again. I didn't mean to. I didn't.
Bury your own grave.
Today I was like, I'm not going to mention burying myself. I'm not going to mention my grave.
Why would you deny yourself the pleasure
of burying myself alive in the sand?
No, of mentioning it every episode. I'm saying, it's a drinking game. Every time you mention it, someone has to take a shot.
Even if you're at work, take a shot. Okay. So at this point, Ben, the big tall guy, Ben goes back to the cave with his wife Ella. They're hiding in one of the caves. And at this point, it's like early morning on the 13th. And the pilot and Harada are still looking for Kaleohano, who has seemingly just disappeared completely. Like,
these guys are the worst hunters of all time.
They had a terrible plan. Nothing was working.
And this island's only, like 30 feet wide or something? They can't find them this entire time?
Like
no, I'm joking. Not 30 feet
miles.
wide, but still.
Yeah.
There's only so many places that people could hide.
Seriously, yeah. And he has Harada with him, who's lived there his whole life. So like he knows, which is kind of makes me wonder if he wasn't giving him what he wanted anyway. Like Harada,
why would he get him riled up in this whole situation?
I don't know. There's just it's all this that happened is and you'll find out why. We don't know much about what happened here. So they're still looking for Kaleohano. And they go back to the village to find anybody to help them, to try to threaten anybody to tell them where. And they run into Ben, 6'5" Ben, and Ella, his wife.
Like, remember me, bitch?
And they were out searching for food. And Ben is just over it, man. He's so sick of these people. And so they hold Ben and Ella hostage. And they're like, we're going to kill Ella if you don't go find Kaleohano. And Ben's like, fine, I'll go find him. Yeah. And he walks away and just kind of pretends to look and like kills time.
That's like when my wife asked me to get something from the fridge and I'm like, I don't know. It's here. Can you find it?
You're weaponized.
You never send a man to find something.
It's weaponized incompetence. I'm the same way. Yeah. I'll look in the same spot for like...
No, I actually do find stuff a lot of times. And then when she can't find it, I find it. And then I'm like, we have torn like a hole into the space-time continuum. This should not be happening. Gender
roles are no longer. So Ben is like kind of going along with it. And he's like, okay, I can't find him. I've looked everywhere. And the pilot's he just loses his mind. He starts screaming at Ben and cursing him in Japanese and just like fully insane. And Ben is so tired of it. He's just like, dude. And he looks at Harada and he's like, can you take your new friend's gun? Because he's insane and he'll probably kill somebody. And he kind of gives Harada one more chance to like prove that he's not. Yeah. And Harada's like, and he's in English is like, no, because if I do, he'll kill me.
If you take
Ben
his
is
gun.
like, and Ben's just like, all right. And so while he has a chance, Ben just tackles him. He tackles Nishikaichi to the ground. After he had given Harada his gun to reload, and that's when he tackled him. But
he's like, here, take my gun to reload it.
These guys are like cartoon villains.
Yeah.
So the pilot Nishikaichi quickly grabs a pistol from his boot, he has
another one. He's a backup. Of course.
He gets a backup, and he shoots Ben 3 times.
No.
And don't worry, Ben is indestructible.
Okay, good. I was very attached to Ben.
Oh, same. I love Ben. He hits him in the chest, his hip, and his crotch. So 3 places that would probably take anyone out. But Ben just stands back up. And as he's standing back up, Ella, his wife, smacks the gun out of Nishikaichi's hands.
Nice.
Like an absolute legend.
Yes.
And Ben picks up the pilot and just throws him against the wall.
He's like Darth Vader, like attacking the Emperor at the end of Star Wars.
But he's just so annoyed. He's so angry. He's like, this is so dumb.
This is such a waste of our time.
No, seriously. That's Ben's attitude, where he's just like, come on, man.
We're better than this.
You could have not done this, but you did. So the pilot is completely knocked unconscious at hitting this stone wall. And Harada starts to run away. And Ben's like, absolutely not. And so he starts to chase Harada. But before he can get him, Harada turns the gun on himself and shoots himself in the belly and kills himself. So
straight harikari.
Yep. And Ben was like, F. And so then he turns around, and as he's turning around, he sees his wife, Ella, just crushing the pilot's head in with a big rock.
Oh!
And he's
gangster style. Dear Lord.
He's so proud of her. He's so proud of her. Like he was so impressed and happy.
I've never loved you more than I do right now.
Because imagine you're just like, yes, you just, like we're a team and we both killed this dude. Then he just finishes the job.
If she, if some guy who tried to kill us, some guy who shot me and then she bashes his head in with a rock.
We're like, that's
I'd
hot.
be like, that's a ride or die wife. I agree.
It is.
Yeah.
That is. She's worth keeping. Not that you weren't gonna.
Can you imagine what happened when they went home? Oh, dear Lord. X-rated. We're not going to talk about that. The passion.
What I imagined was him going to a hospital.
Oh, yeah, that too. But the lovemaking
right.
after your wife murders someone in your honor.
Who hurt
after you
that
threw him at a wall. Yeah.
I mean, this is like a movie. Like, I don't know why they haven't made a movie about Ben and Ella, because they're
also this is like cool. Relationship advice. If you're having like a rough patch in your marriage, have someone murder someone in your honor.
Okay, I'm like a relationship therapist, and it's like, okay, how about you just try adding some murder and killing a man for each other?
Revenge, I guess, is sort of what it is. Yeah.
Well, I think it's mostly just trauma bonding, but they stay married for the rest of their lives.
Love it. Of course they do.
Of course, yeah. You can't go through that and not.
You can't divorce a wife like that. Why would you? No. Why would you ever?
She crushes his head, and he finishes Ben is like, I'm just gonna cut his throat just to make sure. And so he does. And he said later, I was so angry. That was his quote. I was so angry. Anyway, so
I appreciate him being in touch with his emotions, because most men from that generation would never tell you that they're upset or angry, but he just straight up was like, I was very angry.
I was pissed. I couldn't handle my, I mean, I get it. Like, you watch this guy bash in all the doors of your houses and burn people's houses down and be like, yeah,
he tried to kill you. Yeah.
And he shot you 3 times. And Ben, being an indestructible legend, just stood up and
This is awesome.
just stood up and cut his throat. The next day, so Ella leaves, and she goes and meets up with the ship, because those people had actually made it through to Kauai.
Oh, they finally came through, right.
Gotten help. And so the owner of the island came back, and with like some like marshal and like all the military goes back and they like examine it, and they'd already buried the pilots. They were like, yeah, whatever, just leave him. They got the airplane, they collected the papers, they took it all in, and things kind of went back to normal. And except they did arrest the beekeeper.
What? Why?
Well, you'll find out. He was Japanese. This incident was a huge influence on the decision to have internment camps.
Oh.
Yeah. So it probably would have happened, but not as bad as it did if this did not happen. So the U.S. government argued that these people, the Haradas, had never shown any pro-Japanese sentiment or anti-American sentiment, and yet they were flipped so easily. So how would we know? How do we know who would actually do that or not? So we may as well illegally intern everybody.
So this is the case that like justifies internment camps?
Yes.
Holy
One
shit.
of them. Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
I know. I didn't realize that until I read through this. And I wouldn't say it's the only case, but it was one of the arguments. Like, well, how can we be sure? Because remember the Niʻihau incident. And Shintani, the beekeeper, was taken and interned for the duration of the war.
Ugh, poor guy.
But he was like 60 at the time. And
yeah, it was, I mean,
yeah,
it's all awful.
Oh, it's
all of it's awful.
It's terrible. And like, because so Shintani was released and he actually ended up becoming an American citizen in 1960 and moving back to Niʻihau and spending the rest of his life there with his wife that was from the island. Anyway, Shintani sounds like he came out of it being like, yeah, because it wasn't, all he did was be Japanese in the vicinity.
Yeah, literally, that's it, yeah.
And all he did was say, yeah, I'll ask this person, and then he ditched. He wasn't helping at all, you know. Anyway.
Also, it sounds like if we're to speculate, he was like, yeah, I'm not dealing with, he's like, oh, I need to get the hell away from this guy. This is bad news. Understand?
I would have been like, actually, no, I'm in too deep. I just want to keep bees.
Yeah.
Irene, Yoshio's wife, Irene Harada, was imprisoned, but was never charged with crimes relating to the incident because she insisted she was innocent, and there wasn't very much proof because both people who she was with are now dead.
Convenient.
And then it wasn't until 1992 in an interview where she finally admitted that she did help him. She helped the pilot, and she said, I felt bad for him.
Man.
Which is like some complex deep human, I don't know. Anyway, she ended up moving back to Hawaii and lived on Kauai.
So she didn't even go back to the island?
No.
She didn't even go back to the Forbidden Island?
I don't think they would have liked that. If I were the Robinsons, I'd be like, not you. You're not coming here. Kaleo Hano, the hero, he received the nation's highest civilian award.
Hell yes.
He received the Medal of Freedom, and so did Ben.
Yes.
Ella received nothing.
What? She bashed that dude's head in.
I know. She killed him. I don't know why, and she never really fought it. So I think, watching yourself bash someone's head in is enough to... I mean, if it were me, I'd be like, I don't want to think about that ever again. So,
or what's that Shakespeare quote is, greatness knows itself, is basically how Ella is. Yes.
I think she was just like, I don't care. I did my job, protected my husband. But it's still, I want to say, Ella, man, you drove that home.
We salute you. Yeah, we salute Ella.
The killing blow is no small thing, which I'm not saying killing is good, but like in that scenario, yeah.
Yeah, in one fell swoop, she destroyed this terrible person that tried to kill everybody and saved her marriage, which I don't know if it was in trouble at that point, but it re-upped their marriage.
Next level.
Next level, their bond, yeah.
Kaleo Hana was married at the time, and I think he had one kid at the time, but he went on to have seven kids total with his wife, Mabel. They moved to one of the bigger islands, and he became a reverend and served in their local church for the rest of his life. And he had a long, healthy life, and he died at the age of 74, surrounded by family. So
awesome.
Nishikaichi, the pilot, his remains were finally returned to his family in the 50s. Up until then, they thought he had just died in Pearl Harbor because the U.S. military was like, we are not talking about this. Yeah. We're not talking about who the pilot was. They kept it a secret. They kept it all under wraps. And then finally, they gave his remains back.
Come clean with it, yeah.
Yeah. And so he ended up back in Japan with his family. His remains did.
Oh my God.
But yeah, thanks to this incident, people became very troubled over the loyalties of Japanese or Japanese-appearing people. Yep. Historian Gordon Prang wrote, quote, the rapidity with which the 3 resident Japanese went over to the pilot's cause troubled the Hawaiians, and added, the more pessimistic among them cited the Niʻihau incident as proof that no one could trust any Japanese person, even if an American citizen, not to go to Japan if it appeared expedient. So it's
thumbs
dark.
Down.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where like, this was one person or 2 people. Yeah. That does not reflect, this was one of America's many dark spots.
Many dark spots.
Mistreated their own civilians in the name of keeping people safe. It violated the Constitution because they were locked up without trial or judgment.
Yeah.
And these American citizens of Japanese heritage were taken from their homes and interned. Much of their land was redistributed and bought by white settlers and white Americans while they were interned. So when they were released, they had nothing to go back to. When they were released from the internment camps, they were each given $25 and a train ticket.
$25?
Yeah. And it wasn't until the 80s that Ronald Reagan was pressured into signing a law that awarded them $20,000 each. So there were some reparations, but
not enough.
Took a while and not enough, never enough. Because if you think about how all that livelihood they lost, all their shops that were closed.
Yeah.
While the story is crazy and very intense, it did end up contributing a lot to our racism and fear of anybody who didn't look like us. Because remember, we didn't lock up Germans, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway. That's my story. Wow. Isn't that nuts?
That was crazy. That was excellent. Yeah. Oh my God.
Have I really been talking for an hour?
You've been talking for 47 minutes, but that's okay. No, actually, that's not true because we had our intro. You've been talking for 45 minutes, but.
Okay. We might have to cut some of that. Your turn.
Wow. Yeah? I need a second to whoa. Yeah. I was invested in that.
It was a lot. Yeah, me too. I'll put some pictures up on the internet or on the post of Ben.
I want to see what all these guys look like.
Yeah. They look like they're awesome.